Everybody like, hey, are you ready to go? Ready to go? Everybody like, hey.
Alright, what's going on, y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. So, if you don't know who I am, hey, hi, what's up? I love to do these podcast-style discussions where I talk about all things gaming and maybe some things anime and possibly other things if you really want to hear about that kind of thing. So if you like having something on in the background to listen to, hey, I upload daily, at least for right now, and I love talking about games and other things. So, you know, you might catch a glimpse of something that you enjoy. So why don't you go ahead and drop a subscription and maybe a comment about something that you'd like to hear me talk about, right? Because I love checking out new things. I play anything and everything under the sun. I read and watch a lot, so you know, I'm just down to talk about a lot of different things. So just a little get to know me that I usually do for the beginning of these videos. So obviously you saw the title, you saw the thumbnail, you know exactly what we're here for. We're going to be talking about Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, and you saw that I put in the title there I put a but ... right? And the reason for that is because I do want Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. However, it's very hard for me to justify in my mind paying full AAA price for this Kirby game, right? And I know we just complained about another Nintendo property recently that went up in price, so you know that's all dead and done. Right now, we're here to focus on the little pink puffball himself, Kirby. Now, before we start complaining about something else, because that's seemingly a lot of what I do, and I promise I do love these things, I just have my irks with them like I do everything else. But before we get into this, there's a couple of things that I want to clarify. One is that Kirby Return to Dreamland is one of my favorite games of all time, and easily one of my favorite entries in the Kirby series ever. And it's right, like, Return to Dreamland and the Forgotten Land are neck and neck. Like, before Forgotten Land, it was Return to Dreamland all the way, and then maybe Squeak Squad, but obviously Forgotten Land tops Squeak Squad in every way, shape, and form. You know what I mean? So, this is coming from somebody that loves this game and highly recommends that anybody that hasn't played it before, that this will definitely be a primetime experience for you, right? This is a phenomenal game with incredible music, in just godlike level design, right? And excellent bosses, right? And easily one of the coolest mechanics in the history of the series. Like, I don't know whether to call it a mechanic or a gimmick, but it works as both. Either way, it doesn't really matter. You know, every Kirby game has its little gimmick. So, either way, in of itself, it is a phenomenal experience. One of the best ways to experience a Kirby game, in my personal opinion. I just think it's just one of the best. All right. The Kirby game that came before Forgotten Land, what was it? The Star Allies. That one is okay, but it doesn't quite reach up to what Return to Dreamland did for me, which was so much, right? So, you know, just so you're aware, this is coming from somebody that loves this series and recognizes that this is a true remaster or remake or whatever you want to call it, right? And I've been wanting this game on Switch forever, right? I have been wanting a remaster of some kind, you know, and we're getting that, which is really, really cool and all, right? But you know, as a grown-ass individual that, you know, has to be cautious about how he spends his money in this economy, you know, I do think about this a little bit, and you know, there's a lot to think about here, right? See, we're in an age right now where we want access to our older games, right, without having to pay an arm and a leg just to get the console that they were originally released on, as well as the game itself, for well over like $300, $400, because anything retro or older than 10 years old isn't really being developed anymore, and so therefore, you know, stores and, you know, individuals will hold that kind of thing. They will hoard that kind of thing and sell it back to us for, you know, way more than it was initially priced for, you know? And it's unfortunate because then, you know, a lot of us growing up, me personally, I was dumb. I was a dumb kid growing up, and I was always like, you know, I saw the big new shiny game that I wanted, and I was just like, you know, I didn't have my own money at the time, so I was doing everything I can, scrapping together, you know, games to trade in so that I could get that thing. You know, I did whatever I needed to do. If I saw a new console, I figured like, hey, maybe it'll have backwards compatibility. I don't really need this current console, so I would trade that in, and yada yada yada. So, you know, and I'm sure a lot of us fell into that whole thing, which is why, you know, we get scammed out of our money, bro. Like, I mean, again, it's not an everybody thing, but there are a couple people out there that are desperate enough to actually pay an arm and a leg just to get access to some of their old favorite games when they were younger, because they didn't realize how valuable and how, you know, dropped off the face of the earth these games would be when it comes to the companies and developers that released them. You know what I mean? So they didn't realize how left behind they would be if they didn't have those games for themselves in a physical manner. So, that's just how it is nowadays. This is just the era that we're in. And unfortunately, you know, with Nintendo, especially with Nintendo, they can be really weird with legacy content. They're super very just odd and off with when it comes to legacy content. And so, you know, on one hand, they don't want us emulating at all. They don't want us emulating. They don't want us, you know, getting these games that they developed and make money for free. Like, obviously, who would want that? You know, who wants their stuff emulated? And that's a logical, you know, that's logical. That's totally fine. But then, you know, we come around to 10, 20 years later where we have all these old games that we still want to revisit and play, and we don't have the means to do so, and we don't have the means to introduce those, you know, original games to our friends or anything like that, because they won't port this kind of thing over. So, you know, I'm not saying everybody, and I'm not saying it actually happens, but, you know, emulation can be a danger for them. That's all I'm going to say on that topic. So either way, now there's Kirby, right? And I want this game. I want Return to Dreamland Deluxe. I'm very, like, you know, happy that it got its well-deserved remaster and that it's getting some new content and everything like that, and that's cool and all, right? But the pricing is still pricey to me, right? And let me explain why, right? This is not a new game, right? And I guess going forward, I guess just consider this like, this is like, consider this a rant from somebody who's, you know, who's already played the game, somebody that's been through this game a multitude of times. You know, I'm sure there's a plenty of us out there that have played this game a multitude of times already, right? And I'm sure that goes for a lot of different games. You know, I'm sure this is the same situation with Metroid Prime, you know, but I've never played Metroid Prime, so that was totally fine for me to pay up. But even then, that's still a debatable topic in of itself, but we'll get back to that later. But anyway, with Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe, this is not a new game, right? This is a remaster with a good couple of additions, right? And this is not me not acknowledging the work that they put in, you know? But it is very frustrating because Nintendo can get very big-headed about this kind of thing, right? So, what could I possibly be complaining about? This is a remaster, updated graphics. It's portable now. It has brand new controls that, you know, you don't have to rely on the Wiimote anymore for anything. It has new content that the older game didn't have, as far as, like, you know, the Magalore after game and stuff like that, and a couple of new additions here and there. Like, so you would think, you know, that would more than justify what this game has to offer. No. And to an extent, I can see that. That's totally fine. Yeah, cool. But here's the thing. There was a time where the extra content that they would put in a game wasn't solely to justify the price as much as it was an incentive for older players to just play the game again, to play the game they love with some, you know, new additions because the developers cared about the game that much. But in this case here, it seems as if this game is still advertised and geared towards people who have played the game as much as it is people who haven't played the game, right? Now, here's the thing, right? This is just, maybe I'm just an old head, right? But I remember back in the day where I could go get a physical copy, right? Physical copy of a game, right? In this context, I'm thinking about Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, right? A good couple of years ago, they both got huge remasters, right? Huge remasters. If you don't know, Crash and Spyro, they used to be huge for PlayStation. They were just those dudes for PlayStation, and they still have a special place in a lot of people's hearts, right? Like Kirby does with me when it comes to Nintendo, right? And it's very hard for me to justify a lot of pricing in games nowadays, because how is it that I was able to get 2 separate remastered trilogies? Let me repeat that. 2 remastered trilogies, completely rebuilt from the ground up in modern style graphics, with tidbits of new content, mind you, each of them for $40, right? How is it that those exist, but then there's Nintendo here, where they can justify, first off, Metroid in of itself is $40. No new content, nothing like that. It's just Metroid Prime Remastered by itself, okay? Baseline. Not the trilogy that already exists, but just Metroid Prime 1. And then there's Kirby Return to Dreamland. This is not a trilogy. This is a deluxe version of a 12-year-old game. It got revamped graphics, it got better controller support, it got a little bit of extra content. And now it's $60. I don't know. I just feel like that's interesting. Okay. But hold your horses. I'm still not done. Okay. Now here's the thing about Kirby games specifically, right? I love Kirby games. I always do. I always have. I always will. Okay. But here's my problem. And this applies to the entirety of the series, not just Dreamland, right? But the thing about Kirby games is that they are very, very simple, in which Kirby games are very simply beaten. They have not a lot of crazy challenge, right? And on top of that, they have zero replayability. So, my point here is that Kirby games can be beaten in like maybe 2 good sessions, right? For example, I've beaten most of the Kirby games I've ever played, besides Forgotten Land, obviously, besides, I'm trying to think what other, I don't know, I didn't finish Canvas Curse, like Squeak Squad, only because I didn't have as much time. The only Kirby games I haven't been able to beat in one sitting, I've been able to beat in like maybe 2. Most other Kirby games, I've been able to beat in maybe one and a half sittings. And not only that, 100% them, because they are not hard to 100%. They are not hard to beat in one sitting. And then, once you've 100%ed them, there's damn near no reason to come back to them, right? That was one of my biggest problems with Star Allies. That was the first time I really realized, I'm like, wow, I've 100% of this game. There's literally nothing else for me to do with this game. And, the story is pretty much usually non-existent. Something steals Kirby's food or drags him out somewhere, and he's either trying to get his food back, trying to get revenge, or trying to go home. It's always the same exact thing, right? Or maybe trying to help somebody, which is very unique to Return to Dreamland, actually. But that's my thing. You beat them, you're never coming back to them again. Or at least it's very hard to justify coming back to them again within even a couple of years. I've had a very hard time coming back to Kirby games after a couple of years, they're simple in their design, in their complexity, in everything. And you know, when it comes to this remaster, this, you know, Kirby Deluxe here, it's very hard for me to justify spending this $60 on something that's, you know I could beat in literally, if I wanted to, one sitting, because I've already played the game. You know, it's been 12 years, and again, I've played Return to Dreamland multiple times. I know exactly what to do on every stage because I've beaten this game inside and out before multiple times when I was younger. So really, I'm not getting much of a new experience besides the after game stuff, but I have to beat the main game to get to that. So I don't know. I feel like there's just some big-headedry going on there, and it's a little frustrating to see, you know, things like this get like kind of abused when it comes to the consumer of these games, and it's so frustrating. But you know, that's the only legal way to play the remastered version, so what are you gonna do, I guess? But that's just my take on that, right? What are you guys thinking over there? Do you think that I'm just in my own head? I need to get my head out of my ass. You know, this game deserves its $60. It should be more than perfectly fine to pay that and just play the game that I love and enjoy, even if I have played it 12 or so years ago already. Or am I onto something? Is it a little unreasonable to expect full AAA price for a game that's well over the age of some of their current players, right? What are y'all thinking? I'm trying to justify this because I'm, you know, at this point in time, by the time this video releases, the game comes out the night after. Actually, it releases this week, so I want to see what everybody's thinking about this game. So with that, tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I'm always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and get the hell up out of here. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this. And with that, I'm gonzo. Thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!